Chagami is blind when it comes to Russia and Putin, said Pax Alutin. I'm not sure how they're blind. I would.
No, they would have that like a pretty similar position to us, right? Like, hey, that Zelensky. Look what he did. Yeah, he made Zelensky maybe a total douche and a total scumbag.
No, he's not. Zelensky's based.
The point is, do not freaking give an inch to Putin.
Yeah, I think that that Konstantin is very, very clear on protecting Ukrainian sovereignty and all that. I think that's his position. I'm not entirely sure.
With me, it's just there's a handful of people in the world that you get a big vibe off of. These are people who really want more than they have right now, and you need to watch out for them. So your hero Erdogan. I look at Erdogan, I say, this is a guy who really wants to be the leader of some big, like a return to the Ottoman Empire. And then you've got Putin. He wants like a return to the glory days of the Soviet Union and stuff. These guys all want to expand significantly. And if you appease them and say, okay, just take this little bit, that does not help you. That you have your mind, oh, he says he just wants this little bit. Just give him that little bit. Just give him that little bit that he wants. What's wrong with him having that little bit? He doesn't just want that little bit. He wants a ton. And if you stop him from getting the little bit, then he'll expend himself trying to get that little bit and never have anything. If you actually just give him that little bit, he's going for the whole thing.
Yeah. King Kosa says Zelensky is corrupt, Putin is evil. Two things can be true at the same time. Yeah. Pretty much. You can't, I mean, as much as I'm not a fan of saying something negative about Ukraine to make a point or something, but it's fair to assume that Ukraine, with all the corruption it has in politics, still has a big chunk of corruption. You have to use some of it to get rid of the corruption, even if you want to get rid of it. And I'm pretty sure that Zelensky also has corruption and all of that. But the fact here is that there are some who come here and say, "Oh no, Putin is not the enemy. Putin just defended himself. He was provoked." You are simply just repeating Russian Putin propaganda.
Yeah.
You could argue that you
idiotic
don't want
reasoning
to support Ukraine. You could argue that you don't want to fund Ukraine and so on.
Mm-hmm.
None of this matters. The fact here is that Putin did not react. He was not provoked. He's an imperialist bastard. He's the devil of Europe. That's basically
he's a scumbag. And if you're going to say, look, there's corruption in the government. Therefore, what? Therefore, they should be conquered by Putin. Okay, the entire EU is corrupt. Look at how much corruption we have in the U.S. government. Guess what? I don't want the U.S. government being conquered by Putin. I don't want Europe. I don't want the European Union being conquered by Putin. But what about all the corruption? Yeah, Putin's worse than anything you're talking about.
Yes,
morons, man.
That's what they do. He also there are these people who come to me. It's like. Look, I don't want to go down this route, but lots of people who come here and are like, "Oh no, you're wrong about this, Putin, NATO, this and this." Lots of these people are people who have never even heard of Ukraine before the war, and others who
couldn't have found it on a map if you given them
who never looked into it until the whole war started, or until their own side said something about it. It's as easy as just going to the announcement that Putin made on the morning of announcing the invasion of Ukraine. His reasons were, his biggest reasons actually for the invasion were not just that Ukraine did wrong steps and so on. You can see there very clearly that he says, for example, that Ukraine should have never been allowed to be a free country, that Ukraine doesn't have a legitimate real culture, that Ukrainians are just actually Russians who falsely identify as separate people, that they all belong to Russia, that all of it should belong once again to Russia, and so on. Like, this is, if you say these things and then you add further reasoning to why you want to invade Ukraine, I'm not buying the rest. You sound like a complete lunatic, a Russian imperialist. And to be very frank, I don't want to, and I don't often make this comparison, but you frankly sound like Hitler when he invaded Poland. It's basically the same narrative.
And all the people saying, "Oh, just give him what he wants. He just wants a little bit. Just give him what he wants." They sound like the people who appeased Hitler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So guys. Yeah, all you people, you're cheering for the destruction of Ukraine right now. You're the same people who a couple years ago, if you'd been handed a map and said, "Find Ukraine on the map," you'd be like, "Is it here?" It's like, "No, that's Madagascar." "Oh, is it here?" "No, that's Indonesia." And what actually happened is the group that you're in suddenly said, no, Zelensky bad, Putin deserve it. And you go, yeah, Putin deserve it, Zelensky bad, because your group did it. That's the extent of your knowledge.
Powerful. And if you haven't read that speech by Putler, you can always look it up. And you can find it very, very easily. I think I found it right here just now. There's even a you can find links to it very, very easily. I think this should be it. The whole speech has been translated and transcribed and translated. Here's the Spectator. I think this is the one. He gave 2 speeches, I think, with 3 days distance or so, or a few days. I think this is the one where he announces the invasion. Yeah, Putin's declaration of war on Ukraine. The whole transcript is here, and he goes into a whole dumb, completely made up revisionist history lesson on how Ukrainians aren't even a real thing, and they basically belong to Russia, and always should have belonged to Russia, should have never become their own nation, and so on. But of course, we tolerated this nation as long as they don't get in our way, and as long as they are good boys. But they did not stay good boys. That's why the time has come to put an end to it, and so on. Get the hell out of here, man. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Do you really want me to make a whole live stream about these lies that people are telling? Like, oh, NATO made a promise not to expand, but then they expanded. Never happened. What did happen, however, is that that Russia actually made an agreement never to attack Ukraine, which they broke, and so on. So, whatever.
Yeah. Then you have Spectator here. It's not our war. I won't pick a side. No one's telling you to pick a side, Spectator. What our problem is when people say, "Oh, you've got evil dictator here going around trying to expand and conquer the world," which would be massively bad even for you if you give these guys an inch and they take more and more and more. Long down the road, they destroy everything. So the problem is not that you say, I don't want to take a side. I don't give a flying rat's behind what side you take. You're the same kind of guys who go, you can't have a problem with Putin because Putin's not directly attacking you. I can look at Russia and how Russia puts a monkey wrench in everything that goes on in the world, trying to screw it up for the good of Mother Russia, and say, I do not want these guys getting more power. One, because it's bad for all the people around them and their own people, and for us, and for the entire world. Yes, I can actually have a problem with it. I can. So shut up if you have a problem with it.
Ragnar Lothbrok, who at some point had a dream of conquering the West and then died and left misery behind. Ragnar Lothbrok here says, Apostate Prophet, actually there are papers that show America promised that. To be honest, look into that, AP. You are the 5,000th person who has come with the same objection. And whenever I ask, can you show me the agreement in which this was promised and agreed upon, you will not be able to show it to me. I will assume here for a second that you are actually honest because you said to be honest. So I would invite you to do one thing. Sit down and try to find whether there is an agreement which has a clause that says that NATO should not expand to the east. Find me an agreement that says something like that. Number one, you will not find it. I can already make the prediction because it does not exist. Number two, what you will find is what Russian propaganda uses, which is that transcripts or notes of the general secretary in the United States during talks making such a promise, actually in relation to expanding inside Germany. Completely different topic. The issue, however, is the big problem with this is NATO is an organization that does not depend on the opinion of the general secretary who is currently in charge of, who is currently appointed to the United States. Even the president of the United States, if he sat down and unofficially made such a promise, this would not be a binding agreement. An international defense organization does not work like that. It does not work on given promises or notes or verbal agreements. It does not depend on things like these.
So you're saying this would be like someone from the UN says to Putin, "Hey, here's what the UN will do," and then Russia goes around like that's binding on the UN
Exactly.
because someone said it.
It doesn't work like that. Countries, nations have specifically come up with the idea of putting everything on paper and signing it and having multiple people testify to it, because you cannot simply go by a person's word. You could probably do that in your private life. You can't do that with international organizations, especially not words given by members who don't even have the power or the authority to make decisions on behalf of this organization. So there it is, refuted, debunked. There is no such agreement. Such a promise was never made. Nothing has been violated. You know what has been violated, however? In 1994, Russia, together with the United States and other countries, came together and did make an agreement, a signed written agreement, to denuclearize Ukraine, under the condition that none of these countries will, under any circumstances, attack Ukraine. Guess who broke that agreement multiple times? Russia. And guess who is actually also part to the agreement, and who would normally be expected to jump in and defend Ukraine in such a case? The United States of America. There you go.